Got it? We all got it, I believe. Are we prepared to begin?
Yes, we are live.
All right, thank you, Sarah. We'll begin the Planning Committee meeting of Akron City Council. Would like to accept a motion. Do we accept the minutes of the previously held meeting?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Thank you. I would also ask, I do know, and Sarah, could you please ask for a roll call to ensure all members are present?
Sure. Lesko,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Mosley.
Aye.
All committee
Thanks.
members are present.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have today a couple public hearings. And so what we will do is the procedures for that will be that we will accept a report from the planning department in reference to the public hearing. After that report is provided, we will then ask that those individuals that wish to testify before the committee be sworn in from a representative of our law department. After that process, we'll then invite individuals to speak in favor or against the proposals that are before us in reference to the public hearings. We'll close the public hearings, and then what we'll do is we'll open up for questions from the committee members and then all of council. And we appreciate you being here this afternoon. We also invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock, in which we will have an additional public hearing and invite comment at that time. The only significant difference between this afternoon and this evening is that what we'll do is the committee will make a recommendation to all of council, either in favor, against, or to table, take time on an item. And so those are our procedures. And so, with that, what we'll do is we'll begin our public hearings. And the first item that's up for a public hearing is a ordinance authorizing conditional use to place an electronic outdoor advertising display at 550 Dan Street. Who's here from the planning department to report on this?
I am, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, okay. Okay, Karen. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The billboard will be placed at the northwest corner of the property. The double-sided V-shaped display would be mounted atop a tapered monopole. Each LED panel would measure 14 feet in height and 48 feet in width. The billboard would reach an overall height not to exceed 70 feet above ground level. The proposed billboard would be located on an industrial property adjacent to highway traffic. Although the zoning code limits the height of a ground bulletin billboard to 50 feet in height, allowing an additional 20 feet of elevation will allow for better visibility over existing vegetation, and this minor variance in height would be consistent with other billboards recently approved. The billboard should not impose on neighboring uses while providing an efficient means of communication with consumers. Both planning staff and the planning commission recommended approval of this request.
Thank you, Karen. At this point, I'd like to ask a representative from our law department to swear in those individuals that wish to testify before the committee.
Okay. Would anybody here wishing to speak for or against this, please raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Angeloni. Thank you, Karen Pados. And at this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing and invite those individuals that like to speak before the committee. If you could please provide for us your name and address, we would certainly appreciate it. I do have here in front of me, Dan Nielsen, I believe, has signed up to speak before us.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm Dan Nielsen's partner, John. I did try in. Dan is not able to make it, but
Okay.
I am his partner.
Okay, thank you. Would you mind putting on your the visual, the video portion?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Any comments?
Yes. Basically, we're trying to put a sign there. It's good for the press because it's a concrete recycle press. We are happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Is there anyone else? I do see here Nick Karam, I believe.
Yes, hi. I have nothing to add to this, just on here on behalf of the property owner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Karam. Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this proposal for signage display at 550 Dan Street? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone against? Very good. We'll close the public hearing portion and open it up to any council members that are on the committee that may have questions or comment. Anyone on council committee? Hearing none. Anyone on council with questions or comments? Sarah Biviano, I'm not seeing anyone, so we will invite everyone back this evening again at 7 o'clock. We'll have an additional public hearing in which we will then make a recommendation to all of council. I see Mr. Malik's hand up.
Just one brief question, Mr. Chair. Looking through the supporting documentation, are there any, is there anything that shows a depiction of what the billboard would look like in the area?
Is Karen Patos? Is there any, do we have that information?
I don't have that right with me, but I can get Shamus.
Yeah, if we could get that for all of council, please,
Yes,
before this evening, we'd appreciate that.
Because I think that would be helpful to distinguish it from, some of the other proposals that have come in and to understand what the impact would be. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, we're not hearing any. So we'll now move on and again, invite you back this evening. Thank you for coming this afternoon. And our second item that's up for a public hearing is an ordinance authorizing a conditional use to construct a mixed-use development within the White Pond Office Park on the west side of White Pond Drive, south of Frank Boulevard, and declaring an emergency. Karen, are you here for that one?
yes, I am. The petition proposes to develop White Pond Reserve, a mixed-use retail and residential development on 65 acres of city-owned land. The mixed-use portion of development will be located south of the White Pond Parkway and White Pond Drive intersection. The community building will be located north of the mixed uses, and that complex will include a pool, tennis court, and pickleball courts. On the western portion of the site, 189 townhouses will be built. 91 of these units will be two-story townhomes, with the other 98 units being one-story ranches. The White Pond Office Park has been left largely undeveloped for several years. Developers state that the goal of the mixed-use area is to create an upscale lifestyle shopping center, similar to the First and Main development in Hudson. The petitioner has worked with city staff to arrive at a plan that will result in an attractive, vibrant, and walkable community. The Urban Design and Historic Preservation Commission, planning staff, and planning commission have all recommended approval of this request.
Thank you, Karen. At this time, I'll ask a representative. I assume, Brian, you will be swearing in those individuals that wish to testify before the committee, either in favor or against. At this time, please be sworn in from a representative of our law department.
Okay. So all those in favor, all those wishing to address this body, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brian Angeloni. Very good. We'll open up the public hearing portion and we'll ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use request. I believe there's folks here that are for at the table, and I see 3 names, but I'll let you 3 introduce yourselves. And I assume you're in favor. And so please introduce yourselves and provide for us your address. Thank you. You're on mute.
Can you hear us okay now?
Yes, thank you. A little echo.
Okay, see, we can take care of that. turn it right now. Yeah. Sorry, apologies. I'm Alan Gaffney with Triton Property Ventures, and we're at 1041 West Market Street, Akron.
I'm Randy Parsons with MPG Architects located at 3660 Embassy Parkway in Fairlawn, Ohio.
I am Shauna Melky with MPG Architects also.
Thank you. Welcome. All of you. Is there anything that you'd like to state for the committee and for council?
I think Karen did a great job explaining the project and what we're trying to achieve here. I mean, there's, you know, this is an empty piece of land that we're trying to develop into multifamily housing and retail out at the main intersection of Pine Grove and White Pond to benefit not only the residents that currently live in this area, but also the new residents, and hopefully draw, you know, additional outside visitors to this development, which will have many different retail components.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, very good. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of the conditional use for their proposal at the White Pond Office Park? Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Anyone in favor? Very good. Is there anyone wishing to speak against the proposal on White Pond Office Park on the west side of White Pond Drive? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone? Anyone? Okay, very good. We will close the public hearing portion and of course invite you back this evening at 7 o'clock. At this time, I'm going to ask if there's any committee members from the planning committee that have any questions in reference to this conditional use request. Any committee members? Okay. Any council members have any questions or comments? Mr. Malik, I know this is your district area, so any comments are welcomed, of course.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you to everyone who's present with us here today from the architects and from the developers. Mr. Fusco and I did have a chance to sit down with the planning department and talk about this in depth a few weeks ago, and really appreciate the information that was shared. You know, this is a pretty significant project, so would encourage kind of everyone to look through it pretty carefully. You know, this big piece of property across the street on White Pond from the First Energy facility. And I think it's an exciting proposal, a lot of opportunity for new ranch and townhome supply, and then also some interesting retail at the front of it. I did have a couple of questions, and I know a number of residents in Ward 8 did reach out to me with questions, so I think it's going to continue to be an ongoing conversation. But the first thing, Mr. Sagadi, I know that we had talked about some of the wetlands issues, right? A large proportion of this is wetlands. Are there kind of, or for the developers, architects, are there kind of environmental or soil studies that can be shared so that we can get a better understanding of what the conditions are on the ground there?
I'll go ahead and let the development team start with that, but I can fill in from the city perspective after that.
Yes, Mr. Malik, we did provide Mike Antonucci a copy of the soil study, the preliminary soil study that was done already. And that was about 2 weeks ago that we gave that to Mike Antonucci, who had requested that to share with the various ward members and council members that had requested that. So that has been made public record or provided to Mr. Antonucci.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sagadi, did you have anything to add, or that answers it?
Pretty much answers it. I would just add there are conditions in the ordinance that's before you that have to do with stormwater management in general, conformance with environmental regulations. And I know as we've talked with the development team, because of the nature of the site, the exact area to be developed and how the water will be mitigated, that'll be kind of an ongoing part of the design process. But the city staff feel very confident and comfortable that the due diligence is being done and that we'll get a very successful project.
Thank you. And just a second comment or question. I know one of the things that we discussed was also, concern from some of the residents along Frank about light and noise. And so appreciate some of the commitments that are going to be made to, maintain a tree line and, blocking out some of that. So look forward to, making sure that that's reflected in the ordinance. And then finally, I did want to ask for the developers, do you guys have any kind of, sustainable building practices and kind of energy efficient building practices that you're building into this development?
And we're certainly going to be as sustainable as possible, but I mean, this is not a LEED certified project. I mean, there's obviously things that we do naturally. To your point, Mr. Malik, looking at tree lines and how we can position buildings to not interrupt as many trees as possible. We purposely laid this site out to avoid the wetlands and protect those wetlands. And we've added stormwater retention in places where there aren't wetlands. So there's definitely going to be natural water features on site. With a lot of practices today with construction and design, the natural progression is to find a way to do things economically as well as ways to better the environment. So like I mentioned, this is not a LEED project, but we always take a lot of those principles into effect on our projects.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parsons. Appreciate it.
You okay, Mr. Malik? Good. Thank you. Yeah, and of course, our council, our city, we encourage more tree planting. So the more the better. And I know that there is a commentary within the one of the conditions here. Obviously, landscape plan, as referred to in item 1, is reflected within the and that references our Akron Development Guide Plan. So thank you very much. And again, we'll invite you back this evening. Is there anyone else? Any other questions whatsoever? Okay, I'm not seeing any. Of course, we invite you back this evening. Oh, Mr. Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I have had some discussion with Mr. Antonucci, and I hadn't heard anything from any of my constituents. I do believe this falls in Ward 4, unless this is part of the map that's been changed. So it's not in Ward 8, it's in Ward 4. I hadn't heard anything. My conversations with Mr. Antonucci, I was fine with the plan. I did receive some emails that I think that went out to some of council as a whole from some residents that had some concerns. Some of the questions I can answer, some of them I'll need some assistance with. So I would like to, like I said, I'm in favor of the project, but I would like to honor those questions. So I don't know if we're going to try to pass this today. I'd like for us to take some time so that those questions can be answered.
Thank you, Mr. Neal. Thank you for your comments. Any other further comments, questions? This is a rather a large project, and we'll want to thank the developers for considering Akron here. And so we will be, again, invite you back this evening for further discussion. Thank you very much. With that, we'll now move on to the third item, I believe, that's up for public hearing. And this is somewhat relative, and that is that ordinance accepting the eligibility report for the amended White Pond Drive, Frank Boulevard Urban Renewal Area, approving the amended White Pond Drive, Frank Boulevard Urban Renewal Area Renewal Plan, and making necessary findings in connection therewith. So I'm not so sure who's here on that, or if Mr. and
That's me.
Yeah, Brian, should we swear in anyone that wishes to testify, including staff?
Yeah, we should go ahead and do that.
Okay, Mr. Angeloni, it's all yours.
Okay. Mr. Mulhauser, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say
I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. Kurt Mulhauser, I understand that you have comments on this.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. The amended White Pond Drive, Frank Boulevard Urban Renewal Area is located in the northwestern portion of the city of Akron and is generally bounded by Frank Boulevard to the north, White Pond Drive to the east, the side and rear property lines of office and residential properties fronting White Pond Drive to the south, and Interstate 77 to the west. The amended renewal area consists of 12 tax parcels and approximately 89.75 acres. In 2006, the White Pond Drive Frank Boulevard Urban Renewal Area was established to promote the development of land within the project area. The original plan has been amended to reflect current conditions and update the original blight study to meet the current Ohio Revised Code definition of blight. Language within the plan has been updated in terms of property ownership and existing zoning, and the renewal plan is required to justify municipal activity in the area, specifically the utilization of tax increment financing in the project area. Both Planning Commission and the planning staff recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt Mulhauser. Any questions or comments from the committee members? Questions or comments reference this? This is a public hearing, correct, Sarah? So we will ask if there's anyone here. I don't believe anyone signed up. Have they, Sarah Viviano?
I've kept the people that have signed up for the previous public hearing in here in case they had additional comments, but no one signed up specifically for this one.
Okay, thank you. But we will, for the record, we will open up the public hearing and ask if there's any comments or questions from anyone. I reference this to amend the eligibility report for the White Pond Drive area. Anyone from the public? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone in favor? Anyone wishing to speak against? Anyone against? Okay, very good. We'll close the public hearing and ask if there's any questions or comments from anyone on council. We'll just open it up to everyone. Any questions or comments? Very good. Okay, very good. We'll now move on to the balance of the agenda. Seeing no comments or questions, and I'm going to request that we take time short of any questions or concerns, reference the agenda, and we will move into the new list of legislation. Second. Okay. The first item is ordinance authorizing the service director or his designee to file an application for and accept the state of Ohio Brownfield Remediation Program Fund for the remediation and demolition of the Firestone 1200 building.
That's gonna be me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Beckert. Brad.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, this is a program through the Ohio Department of Development. The city is going to apply for a brownfield grant and demolition grant for the old Bridgestone 1200 building. The building has served its useful life. The amount of the grant includes asbestos removal and demolition of the building. The amount of the grant total will be approximately $7.3 million, and the city will have a 25% match, which is approximately $1.8 million. If we are successful in obtaining this grant, we plan on doing the demolition and remediation in probably the first or second quarter of 2023. Future use of that building. Well, the one thing we are going to do, though, we are going to save the clock tower in the building. So we've got a developer who is going to build a new building, hopefully around that. And we plan on attracting some new businesses, hopefully some manufacturing, similar to Bridgestone or other entities in that area.
Very good. This is I guess sweet and sour in terms of, seeing this building go down, but then again, conversely, it's good because if there's someone who's ready to step in, that's great news. And in essence, what we're doing here, Brad, is we're requesting funding from the state of Ohio, and should we get it, we'll utilize JED funds to supplement that, so that we could tear down this building and prepare the site for future development. And we may have somebody interested, correct?
Yes, correct.
That's very good news. Very good. And we're going to save the clock tower, which is iconic as well. Questions or comments from any committee members at this time? Questions or comments from anyone? Anyone from anyone on council? I would recommend that we move favorable on this. Like I said, we have funds set aside, and if we're successful in terms of getting $5.5 million to prepare this site and get it ready for future development, I would say that we would move quicker than slower, short of any questions or concerns from anyone. I'm not seeing any, so therefore I'm going to recommend that suspension of the rules with a favorable report. Is there a motion?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Against? Very good. The ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, can I do a roll call on that? I had a hard time hearing.
Sure.
Thank you. Fusco,
Aye.
Kamer,
Aye.
Connor,
Aye.
Baylor,
Aye.
Mosley.
Aye.
The motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah Viviano. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to the second item, or it's number 3 on your agenda, and that's ordinance approving transfer of city-owned property pursuant to the city's Mow to Own program in order to facilitate the productive reuse of property and to reduce the cost to the city and the taxpayers in maintaining vacant lots. Anyone here on this?
That's going to be me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, David Messner. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is to transfer 2 parcels to the adjacent property owner through the Moto Own program. One of the parcels is undevelopable with a sewer main running underneath it. So we actually are going to retain an easement. He's been maintaining them for almost 1 year in entirety. And we just like to move forward with transferring them to him for his permanent ownership.
Okay, very good. And this is Moto Own.
That is correct.
Okay, and the ward council person was able to review this and they're good with it, I assume. I'm not sure exactly where whose ward, but I assume that's okay. Is consent agenda okay on this?
That is fine, sir.
Questions or comments from anyone? I'd entertain a motion for consent agenda.
Motion for consent.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Against? Very good. The ayes have it. Okay, number 4 is ordinance amending and or supplementing Title 11 Business Regulations, Chapter 111, Regulations Governing Specific Businesses, to enact Article 37 as short-term rentals, to create procedures for the registration, regulation, fees, enforcement of short-term rentals in the city. Is there someone here wishing
Councilman Fusco,
Yes.
Emily Collins from the mayor's office is getting on right now.
Okay, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is not a public hearing, so. Mhm.
One second, we apologize.
I feel like we should, Sarah, do you have that, the app that has that song from the, what is that, Jeopardy or whatever?
I don't need an app. Councilwoman Baylor. Emily is joining now. If you want to just give her a moment to connect to audio.
No problem. No
Thank
problem
you.
whatsoever. Thank you. Hello, Emily, are you here?
I think I'm finally here. I apologize.
No problem. Welcome to the Planning Committee, Emily Collins. Just not sure where you're at on the screen, but are you here?
Mr. Chair, I think we lost her.
Okay.
She's back in the waiting room joining it.
Councilman Fusco, in the interest of time, we can go ahead and move this to this agenda to take time on this agenda if you wouldn't mind.
Absolutely would not mind that, but Emily Collins may be with us.
I think I'm here. I'm finally here. I apologize. Councilman Fusco, could you let me know what you're looking for?
Just a brief overview, reference the ordinance on the business regulation side for the short-term rentals. Just a brief overview. I know you and I have spoken about this, and just for the benefit of the committee as well as council, that we'll be taking time on this. And I'm asking everyone on council to contact you, Emily, or if they have questions or comments. You know, we're not going to look to move on this very quickly. This is a significant change for us here in the city of Akron, and so and it's a significant amendment. So maybe just a brief 2-3 minute overview, and we'll
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes. So the short-term rental proposal is one that we are putting forth with registration, a registration requirement, as well as the collection of a tax in the same way that we collect the hotel tax, the bed tax. So no different than that. And the purpose, you may know that all of our housing rules already in the city of Akron require anti-discrimination and that sort of thing. So this is a process for us to ensure that we are able to keep track of short-term rentals, make sure that, you know, we are enforcing other laws that are applicable to similar housing situations, and gives us the ability to be in front of some of the state legislation that's being proposed related to preempting the ability of cities to regulate short-term rentals. So we're expecting that the state will likely move later this year, most likely November, on their preemption legislation on short-term rentals. Our proposal is one that is very much in line with what other cities in Ohio have done. Cincinnati, Toledo is one we look to heavily. So we've taken elements of each of those and made them applicable to the city of Akron. And I completely understand that we would want to all take a little time and think through this legislation and how it would apply to residents who are seeking to create short-term rentals. So happy to take questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emily.
Yep.
I see Linda Mobian's hand is up. Linda?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When we talk about short-term rentals, we're talking about Airbnbs and anything else that you choose to do in your home.
Airbnbs is the classic example. Yes, there are some other hosts, server sites, websites, right, that do the same sort of thing. So they would also be covered. And we're thinking that the registration would be not just a requirement imposed on the person who's hosting the short-term rental, so the resident whose house it is or apartment it is, but also the Airbnbs of the world would need to include that registration number on the advertisement so that we can check that they're actually registered. At least that's the current proposal.
So I just want to take it a step further. That's okay, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So if I have a home or a facility that I want to use for Airbnb, every time I have a guest to come into my home, I would register them as you do with the hotel. Is that what I'm hearing?
Not that you would register that person visiting, but you would be able to show them that you have registered your facility, right? So you've registered your rental itself with the city. And that'd be a yearly requirement. So it's not per person. The tax, however, would of course be charged along with whatever the rental amount is. So that would be per person.
I see.
Is that what you're asking?
But yeah, the host would be expected to pay something monthly. Is that what it?
Yearly, a registration fee yearly.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay. And those figures are what? What are we looking at?
So we've looked at it overall in terms of overall revenue. The amount that I believe it's $150 for an annual registration fee. And of course, let's think through if that's the right amount, but that's what we've listed in the proposed legislation. But there would also be the submission of the tax. That would be an additional, and we've looked at the amount that we think would be collected over the course of the year, and it's probably around $250,000 of revenue for the city.
Very good. And it seems as though, excuse me, Linda, but that's the next item that is on our agenda. It references the city tax code as well. So it's like two separate pieces that we can be looking at and checking out. That's good. Thank you. Good question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shamus Malik. Shamus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank you, Ms. Collins, and other city staff who participated in putting this together. This is, I think, one of those issues that is important, but I think often it's hard to be like the first priority, and so can drag on. And I'm glad that we have a proposal here, and look forward to moving forward with it. I know there are many folks within our city who are Airbnb hosts or use other short-term rental sites and offer a wonderful service. And I think it is, it's going to be helpful to bring them within, compliance with our city code and create, a sensible, reasonable regulation. And like you said, also help us raise $250,000, hopefully, and maybe more each year. So just want to thank you and look forward to the discussion about this in the weeks ahead.
I appreciate that, Councilman. And I'll mention to you that this is absolutely designed to ensure compliance instead of discourage short-term rentals. Of course, we want short-term rentals in Akron. So I just want to be clear about that.
Thank you. Absolutely agree.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Okay, very good. What we'll do, and thank you, Emily, for coming in. Like I said, I urge everyone on council, this will affect, in essence, practically, I'm guessing, every neighborhood within our city. Okay. And so, and whenever this happens, the regulation piece of it is going to be important, I believe. There's a portion of this, I've looked it over, that kind of speaks to zoning and to land use, a portion of this. That for me, I have a lot of questions on, so I'm going to get those answered as well. But in addition to, the fees and the structure and who we get a hold of whenever there is a problem, how that's all going to look. So this is, in fact, a big piece of legislation and a significant change within our city, and hopefully we'll come out in the end with something meaningful and usable and enforceable from the city side here. So thank you all for your attention on this, and we'll be discussing it over the next several weeks, I'm certain. So thank you for that. And so with that, I'll entertain a motion for time on item number 4.
Motion for time.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then, given that we've kind of discussed the next item, which I'll read into the record, though, is the ordinance creating a short-term rental registration tax, amending the city's tax code to unify all current taxes under one charter. entertain a motion that we, I assume this is the same, correct, Emily? It's the tax portion, right?
It's the tax portion, and I will mention to you that it does not just service to short-term rentals, but it also is essentially a codification issue where we needed to relocate some of the other hotel motel tax rent portions of the code into the proper place.
Oh, okay.
So it's a little larger, but it's really a formatting question.
Gotcha, more of a housekeeping type thing.
That's
for
right.
Codification purposes.
That's right.
Very good. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for that. Is there any questions on this? Okay, is there a motion for to refer this item? Take time.
So motion to, okay, second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Against? Very good. The ayes have it. Thank you all for attending this afternoon's planning committee. And of course, we're going to invite you all back this evening at 7. So with that, we're adjourned. I'll turn it back over to our clerk, Sarah Viviano.
Our next committee of the day will be the Rules Committee. Those committee members are Freeman, Fusco, Amobian, Connor, and Malik. That is the Rules Committee, and it will begin at 2 o'clock.